Hey guys, Omni here. I just finished watching the documentary More Than Miyagi, the Pat Morita story, which was directed by Kevin Derrick. This movie, the only kind of complaint that I have with this documentary is that it definitely seems to have one kind of narrative. We're only really seeing one, aside from everything known to the public, everything known as far as stories told by peers, various coworkers, and people that have worked with Morita. The main driving narrative of this documentary is told from pretty much the singular chronological perspective of his third wife, the surviving widow that he has now, who has an executive credit on this as well. So it does feel like we're getting part of the story because he was married two other times before that. And we don't hear from his daughters whatsoever in this documentary, which made me kind of like poke out into doing a little bit of a research about the history of this documentary, a little bit into this documentary itself. And, you know, there's a couple of quotes as to why they declined. There's even a note like right before the credits that they did reach out to the daughters to get them to comment and provide perspective on the documentary itself, but they declined to do so. They weren't able to come to any kind of agreement here, but there was a statement put out by them. My sisters and I are aware of a documentary being made right now about our father, but have declined to become involved. As the current documentary being made stands now, we're not confident that it will be done in our father's best interest in mind, but rather as a vehicle for my father's third wife to tell her version of a very incomplete story. My family has strong personal reasons for not supporting this project, and anyone else who has decided to follow suit has done so on their own accord. We want more than anything for our father's story to be told, but we want it to be done right and with the right people involved. So, I don't know. I don't think it goes out of its way to tell or paint. I understand where they're coming from for sure, because the way this documentary frames, it definitely dives into a lot of the inner demons of Pat Morita, and it leaves off on a very somber tone once we lead up to his passing, his struggles with depression, alcoholism, and all that. And it definitely paints just a tragic picture, and it like for anybody that has like these fond memories of him, it might not be the way you necessarily want to remember him, but it is a fair part of his life. It is what happened for the most part. So I understand it. I just really want to know what the missing pieces are. Like, what's their side of the story? It definitely feels like we're getting one viewpoint and that there's a lot in between the lines that's left out. Though it does a very good recounting of his life from, his struggles at the age of 2 with spinal tuberculosis and dealing with that, and maybe possibly not ever being able to walk again, immediately being able to walk again, and World War II coming about, and him being forced into internment camps with his family, and being raised in these Japanese American concentration camps on American soil during that whole thing, to this conflict of identity that came about because while his family was first generation Japanese Americans who spoke primarily Japanese, he grew up mostly in the hospitals due to his disease, and he was very left disconnected from that. And then you see how that frames his career from that point, especially with the success of Mr. Miyagi and that being in such an iconic role as an Asian lead, as a Japanese American lead in a film that really got him springboard. I mean, he was Arnold in Happy Days. He had other roles, of course, back on Sanford and Son and stuff like that. But that was the one that really broke him out. He got an Academy Award nomination for his performance in The Karate Kid, namely due to the scene where he was talking about the Japanese internment situation in which Mr. Miyagi's wife and child died while he was off fighting the war for America during World War II. So it's really interesting the push and pull that they go about and the struggle and just the amount of adversity he really overcome to still be this person that strove to make other people laugh and smile. Like, it just goes to show that some of the best comedians are really just one, just trying to distract other people from going through that same pain, giving people a chance to laugh in such a bleak world. And that satisfaction of making other people laugh helps them deal with their own pain. It helps them mask it. It helps them ignore it. It helps them push it back, fight it off. And it doesn't always win the battle in the long run. And eventually, you know, the huge appeal that came with the role of Mr. Miyagi also kind of was a double-edged sword. It got his name out there, but then he was only ever wanted for those types of roles. They're good at that one thing. They really stood out at that one thing. No, we'll only hire them when we're looking for that kind of thing. And it hurt. I mean, this obviously this goes into a whole lot more than just that whole aspect of it. Like, it's a very, I don't know, man. It definitely pulls at the heartstrings and shows you a lot of the rough patches that definitely, he definitely went through. And like I said, it doesn't necessarily leave you feeling great at the end. And you're not really meant to. It's kind of like it's really a cautionary tale of alcoholism, depression, identity. And I do recommend it as a watch for anybody that may be a fan of the Karate Kid or the Cobra Kai series, to kind of know a little bit more about the man behind the Miyagi, because he is more than that. He is like any great personality in life, a very layered and textured person. And not all of it's going to be good. I still feel like it's an incomplete story, though I can't tell you what's missing because we never got the other side of the story. And I don't know if that's the fault of the director or the executive producer being the third wife or what. I know it just seems from the statement from the sisters or from the daughters that maybe there's some ill will in there because they don't really get a lot of attention throughout the documentary either. They don't they don't really talk about that aspect of it. Like, what was the deal with his other two wives? Like, what happened there? What was the fallout? There's nothing. Like, we're not getting any of that. We do get a lot of fun testimonials though from a lot of people from past projects, from Happy Days to various people that have worked in the various Karate Kid films, in Cobra Kai, Martin Kove, William Zabka, Mike Barnes, I can't remember his name right now, something Kanan, and Ralph Macchio, the previous directors, writers, all that, just kind of sharing their stories of Pat Morita, his past assistants, giving their perspectives and their testimonials as well. There's a lot of fun little bits and moments in this that do shed some light on just the type of man that he was and the brightness that he brought into the room and that he tried to instill with other people. But at the same time, while dealing with these demons that unfortunately he carried, and in the end seems to be what ultimately won out and led to his passing. It's a decent documentary. I do recommend it if you're a fan of the Karate Kid, Pat Morita, or Cobra Kai. Anyway, guys, it's time to pass it off to you. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments down below, and we carry on the conversation after the video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys next time. Take care, everybody.